So when you hear the word Crusades, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's a pretty simple story, right? A holy war. But what if that simple story is wrong? Today, we're going to deconstruct that myth and get into the much messier and way more fascinating reality. Let's do it.
To really get a handle on this, I want you to come back in time with me for a second. Just picture it. You're standing outside the ancient walls of Jerusalem. It's about the year 1100. The air is just thick with history, and you can hear the sounds of a city that is truly at the crossroads of the world. You hear the sound of Christian church bells, and then just moments later, the Muslim call to prayer rings out. The voices all around you are speaking languages from basically all over the known world. Now, this is a city where people believe, and I mean deeply believe, that God is on their side. But that faith, it's all tangled up with very, very human things: land, power, money, and just plain survival. And it's that mix, that incredibly volatile mix, that's about to explode.
That one moment, right there in Jerusalem, it really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. The Crusades were never, ever just about one thing. And that complexity, well, it forces us to ask the same big question that historians are still wrestling with. What really pushed people to undertake these campaigns? And what were the effects, the good, the bad, and the ugly, on the everyday people who had to live through them? This question gets at one of the biggest ideas in all of history, that the interaction between different societies, through both peace and war, is what really drives change. So let's tackle the biggest myth right off the bat, the idea that this was one long, epic war fueled only by religious hate. The reality? Oh, it's so much messier. We're actually talking about a whole series of different campaigns stretched out over centuries, and they were all driven by this complex, overlapping, and frankly confusing set of motivations.
And to get why, we've got to zoom out a little. I mean, the Crusades didn't just happen in a bubble. While Europe was busy rebuilding itself after the fall of Rome, the Islamic world was in the middle of this incredible golden age of science and culture. And here's the really crucial part. These two worlds were not strangers, not at all. They traded with each other, they shared ideas, they made treaties. They were deeply connected long before the first army ever set out.
Okay, so if it wasn't just one thing, what was it then? Let's actually break down all the different motivations that were swirling around and pushing these massive campaigns forward. This chart really helps us see that complexity. Yeah, of course, faith was a huge driver. The ideas of pilgrimage and salvation were incredibly powerful. But look closer. Ambition, politics, the chance to get rich, and even just social pressure were just as important. The modern way historians look at this isn't about picking one motive. It's about understanding how all of them work together at the same time.
And this is how it actually played out for different people. A pope might see a way to expand his political influence. A knight could be thinking about his spiritual duty and the chance to get his own land. A merchant in Venice, he's seen brand new trade routes opening up. And a peasant? Well, a peasant might just see a chance to escape a brutal life of feudalism. Same event, totally different motivation.
So just like the motives were all tangled up, the consequences were also deeply contradictory. The Crusades created some absolutely brutal, long-lasting conflicts, and at the same time, they created brand new connections between cultures.
And this table just lays that dual legacy out perfectly. On the one hand, you have horrific violence, people being forced from their homes, and trauma that lasts for generations. But on the other hand, at the very same time, all this conflict actually ramped up contact across the Mediterranean. This led to a huge boom in trade, sure, but also a massive exchange of knowledge. I'm talking about the advanced math and medicine from the Islamic Golden Age, even the numbers we use today, all slowly making their way into Europe through these new points of contact. It's this really uncomfortable paradox. Creation happening right alongside destruction.
So, okay, this all happened centuries ago. Why does any of it still matter today? Well, because the Crusades didn't just neatly end. Their legacy evolved, and it continues to shape our world in ways we might not even see. And here's the crucial point. Maybe the most lasting legacy of the Crusades wasn't really about who controlled what territory, but about the stories people told afterward. These events helped create these powerful narratives, these simplified ideas about a fundamental clash between East and West, and those memories, whether they were true or not, proved to be incredibly sticky. And those simplified memories, they still echo today. They influence modern politics, our ideas about religion, our identities. Understanding that the real history was so much more complicated is important. It helps us see that these huge religious conflicts aren't some inevitable part of history, and that actually,
Cooperation has always been just as much a part of the human story as conflict.
So I'm going to leave you with this question. It's the same one historians are still wrestling with. In any major conflict, whether it's in the past or happening right now, where exactly does religion end and politics begin? Can you even draw a clear line? Just asking that question. That's the first step to moving beyond the simple myths and getting a little closer to the much more complicated truth.